Hello folks, welcome back to the 10-Second Film School. I'm Prof. Linus, and I'll be your teacher for the next 8 minutes. The topic of my video today is a controversial one, and that topic is what to do with Chat GPT. What do we think of this new tech, and how do we address academic and professional dishonesty in a Chat GPT world? This video is for my fellow teacher friends or anyone who teaches a college course where you might periodically assign papers as an assignment or exam. Extra special shout out to my teacher Reddit group who posted some excellent ideas about how to thwart ChatGPT cheating. I am quite sure that if you're a teacher like me, you have graded an enormous amount of papers over the course of your career and have encountered submissions where it's very hard to tell if you're reading original material. If you need a primer on what ChatGPT is, ChatGPT is short for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, a type of large language model, or LLM, that can utilize, learn, and mimic patterns found in untagged data and participate in human-like chat via applications and websites that use a chatbot type feature. Chatbot computer programs, which have immense voice recognition and text recognition abilities, have been used for a variety of applications for years in the form of online virtual assistants, email autoresponders, and subtitling services. But since ChatGPT's powerful unsupervised learning has been revealed, the obvious next leap is to utilize such technology potentially to serve as online therapists, to stand in for real-life partners, to write student essays, and even to compose poetry. Since OpenAI released ChatGPT in November of 2022, authenticity of authorship and student academic honesty is truly under threat. But I think that a few extra steps to our teaching can thwart and confound this new tech encroaching on our high-integrity classrooms. Given the apparent effectiveness of an AI to respond to questions where a definition is required, it is very difficult for a given teacher to discern whether or not something is a ChatGPT response if our essay questions are just fact-based and generic. For example, why is a short lens preferable to a long lens when shooting sports footage? Or explain method acting. In my opinion, these are very bad questions. Over the last few years, I've actually stopped asking students questions that they can easily find the answer to on Wikipedia. That being said, the second tip I'll present will definitely help those of you who have to teach the long-form essay. So for those of you who are not film teachers, these tips will work for any class, but the examples I'll give will be from the perspective of a film studies instructor. Are you ready? Here we go. All right, so my first tip to fighting ChatGPT cheating is this. Ask students questions where a student is required to respond by drawing a picture or a diagram. Anything where they have to do something with their own hand. I actually love using this idea in the form of an in-class quiz. Challenge the students with a time limit, and if you have to assign it as a take-home, that works too. Here's an example. When I teach my unit on rising action and story structure, I might ask the student to draw what story structure looks like, and then label the rising action and climax according to a film of my choice. When I teach my unit on the 180-degree rule, for example, I have the students sketch out where the cameras might go. You can also have the students draw you a lighting plan if you're a cinematography teacher. Just have the student draw 4 or 5 simple diagrams or some kind of connect the answer with a line question. And if they're doing this at home, have the student take a picture of their quiz answers as a submission so you have the date stamp on the photo and in your email. ChatGPT can't draw images as of yet, so this may be a good quick way of addressing the issue. An alternate method to this, if you have time in your class, is to have students create a poster or an infographic demonstrating their knowledge about the topic in question. This way, the project is more about the effort the student puts into answering the question, rather than about their needing to reinterpret the facts of the course in a text format using words they don't feel comfortable using. Get your students to use Photoshop, get your students to use Google Slides. If they don't know either of those tools, have them cut out pictures from magazines and take a picture of their creation. Anything that doesn't involve them typing your questions into the software is key here. If you have to assign essays in your class because teaching writing is a component to your class outcomes, or a skill you're actually trying to teach as part of your curriculum, then this next method I'll share might work for you. And that is giving students 2 quotes from your textbook and requiring them to synthesize those exact quotes in a single paragraph in their paper. Sometimes, if appropriate, I'll provide a quote board for the student and tell them to use particular quotes in a sentence. The more oddball the quotes are, and with as few discipline-related buzzwords in it, the better. Buzzwords trigger the software ChatGPT to hone in on available literature on the internet to formulate its answers. One solution that I've tried is writing questions for students that encourage them to think about a hypothetical, or even better yet, respond to something specific I said in class. When I lecture in a classroom, I use a smattering of euphemisms, made-up words, or I borrow terminology from other disciplines outside of visual media, and I use them in my lectures, so students can't just Google those words and phrases and return the Chat GPT reply to me. In my film classes, I love using terms like frontal plane and kicker, because taken out of context, those words can have different definitions and are not often used in casual film analysis. This may foil any attempt to quickly grab a definition and plug it into an answer. There's also a practical and less snarky motivation behind this. Often, if a student is struggling with reading or even opening your textbook, that just means they might have poor reading habits and just need a helping hand to figure out what to look for in the passages I assign. I'm not going to provide a book report for the student. They still have to do the work, but if my helping hand will assist them in finding something relevant to speak about, I'll do this. I'll help out. The plus side to all this is that the student is encouraged to see that coming to you for guidance in paper success is much preferable to paying some random Joe who does not know the course material to write the paper for them. Yet another method I'm going to show you is an approach that may take the most effort on the part of the instructor, but this could be worth it to you. Create a multiple sentence question for the student that contains factual and analytical errors in it, and have the student answer the question. Don't tell the student that there's an error in the line of questioning. You can challenge a student by putting a mixture of errors ranging from the patently false to the slightly incorrect. The astute student will question the error, and the student who types the question into ChatGPT will provide you with a generic reply that will look like a cobbled together mishmash of partial facts and tepid analysis. For example, in my film class, I might put as a mock answer response, deep space is a filmic composition where there are very few depth cues, and flat space is a filmic composition aesthetic where there are many depth cues. Give an example of each and how filmmakers use this type of composition to tell story. This is very cheeky because for the two definable terms, the opposite is in fact true. Deep space has many depth cues and flat space has few. But I've written it in such a way that if you type this question straight into ChatGPT, the AI will ignore the error and simply list examples of the following. You have to be alert to discern that there's a slight mix-up here, and that's why I love this technique. This is actually a variation on a grammar exercise I used to administer back in my day teaching elementary age English students. And I must say it works very well not just with student test scores, but also with retention of class material. So these have been my methods to fight ChatGPT. I know there are so many more clever ideas out there, especially if you teach in a field like math or science. Put in the comments below any of your ideas and give me a thumbs up or a subscribe if you like this video. If you like this channel, it would be a great help if you followed me using the social media links you see on the screen. If you wish to provide more support, you can help by purchasing a copy of my course textbook, which I edited through Cognella Academic Publishing. I'll post a link in the description of this video. Or you can visit my Patreon page, which is patreon.com/10secondfilm. Your contribution will go so far towards helping me create more videos for this channel. Thank you very much in advance. This is Prof. Linus from the 10 Second Film School. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.